Hello everyone and welcome back to another Q&A. This time, fall Q&A. Yeah, we said at the beginning of 2018 that we were aiming to do 4 Q&As this year. It's now December. We're doing the third one. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Stephen, it's not fall. And also, how are you going to get another Q&A out? We will, and I'm here to tell you that our next one is going to be a very special Q&A. It's going to be a Stephen and Friends Q&A. So if you've ever wanted to ask questions to maybe a specific friend, or certainly if you have questions like for the group that, you know, everyone could give certain input on, please ask questions specifically for Stephen and Friends, because we're going to have a lot of the friends of Stephen and Friends here soon, and that is going to be our next Q&A. It's going to be a lot of people in one video. It's probably going to be a very wide shot.
It's going to have to kind of be like a panel where you address people.
Probably.
So everyone's not talking.
Might have to pass a mic around or something. But yeah, we're looking for you know, questions that everyone could answer and give their input on for, you know, certain things. But then certainly also, you know, if you have a very specific question related to a specific event or something, feel free to ask all that down below. We're going to be getting to it real soon, just for the fact that we have everyone coming pretty soon. I'm trying to get this out by the end of 2018 so I can say, see, I did it 4 in a year, like I said I would. We're busy. Also, I wanted to say that you guys asked really great questions in this past Q&A. We had a hard time deciding on the ones that we were going to answer, but we got it cut down to a relatively good amount. So let's get started on another Q&A. First question is coming from David Calms, and David asks, as a video game collector, what is your opinion of case spines, you know, regarding uniformity versus collector's editions, etc.? I gotta tell you,
I am very opinionated on this subject.
I am too, and I don't know if it's just like the design aesthetic, you know, like the inner designer inside of us that has such a, you know, strong opinions about this, but I hate, God, I'm gonna say it, I hate collector's editions. I really do. I have very strong negative opinions about anything that messes up the flow of, and for most people it probably wouldn't be a thing. I think it means more because we have like every game.
Well,
you know,
sometimes game systems make rules, like switches over your head, and it's probably a little too much in the background.
Yeah, a little bit. But Switch,
like they're all red.
Right? I love how the Switch does it.
Well, some of them are like centered on the spine, and some of them are top aligned.
Well,
and that is one thing that drives me crazy.
Well, I think to better answer your specific gripe, I think the official like releases that are published and get like store releases, right? They're all in a very specific font and they're all left aligned. But there are some other companies that are doing like these indie releases that we have picked up. And they aren't following that same thing. Now, if they weren't allowed for some reason, that's one thing. If they chose not to do it, if I find out that you did it, like it's maddening, because Mal's right. Some of them are center aligned and it's a different font. Some of them have like their own little numbering at the bottom.
But at least it's close. But like on Xbox One, they're all gray. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 is red. Which is like kind of neat, but then like also no. And then Wii is the same way because they're all white. And then like there's a Kirby Special Edition that's like pink. And there's some that are red. Yeah,
I like Xbox Ones a lot. And PS4 does it like the PS2 did.
Yeah, and I don't mind that at all.
And there's PS2 games over Mal's shoulder, so you can see those too.
And like I'm fine with how that looks.
Yeah, and that entire generation, Xbox, GameCube, and PS2 all did it that way, where they have a small part that is standard. And then they can do their own thing. I don't mind that.
No, I don't mind that either.
As long as everything is the same.
Yes.
You know, another thing I can't get behind is steel cases, which are normally like special edition things. And again, these aren't inherently bad games.
No.
It's just like,
from a design standpoint, you're like, why?
And also, especially when you're doing things on a shelf, like there have been times I have I've chosen a normal edition game over a special edition game because I'm like, I don't want the big box, or I don't want the thing to be a steel case. I want it to fit
I want it to match.
Yeah, I want it to match. And that's a really dumb thing, and it probably means more to game collectors.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be looking at hundreds of games on a shelf, and it's really weird when one is just like, you know, and that it'll be like that for Red Dead a little bit too.
Yeah, but it's also like a height thing too on some of them. Some of them are the same height at least.
Yeah.
But some of them are taller, and sometimes they're wider, and then it makes the spacing on the shelf like you may not be able to fit a game in, and there may be a gap.
These might be issues that no one's ever thought. Well, I mean, David has thought about it because David had the same gripe, and yeah, it's a huge thing for me, and especially someone who has as many games as we do. You know, I see it and it gets under my skin. But yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone.
I was just talking about it too when I moved everything around.
Our next question is from Cobra Kid. Has there ever been an LP that you did not enjoy playing?
All in all, no, but there's some things that were a little frustrating at the time, or just like minor frustrations I have.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a project that when I was done with the project, I went, oh, I wish I would have never done that.
Yeah.
That's never happened. Which is, I mean, pretty good, because we've done like over 100, I think, Let's Plays, so we're like 100 for 100. That's not bad. But definitely, while you're within a project, there are points.
Like,
there are points that can be.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best examples is Tulip. Like, Tulip is a super unique game, and I'm glad we did it. But also, parts of it are a huge slog, where that you have to do like a 15-minute setup for something to see if you can potentially get the kiss, and then if you screw it up, it's like, oh, okay, I just got to do all that over again. So it's like, and sometimes it's like, you know, RNG, you know, you don't even know if you're going to get it. So it's, that's frustrating. Certainly we had some frustrations with Pikmin 2, which was super compounded by the comments too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we would do Pikmin 2 recordings and, you know,
we're playing it blind, first time ever.
And, you know, we might be struggling a little bit, and then you'd read some of the negative comments and you'd be like, oh, you know, so like sometimes that can make issues worse, but like those are probably the most, the biggest examples I have. And we didn't, it's not that we didn't enjoy Pikmin 2. I
really liked it as a game. It was just that part of it was kind of frustrating sometimes.
And certainly some of the dungeons and stuff were wildly difficult. But, I mean, also, I'm glad that we don't play things perfectly. I think that would be boring as heck to watch. It actually confuses me a lot when people get mad and do backseat gaming either on Twitch or on YouTube. Like, you have to do it perfect. Why? Isn't that boring? Isn't it more fun if we like screw things up and like lose our minds and like, oh god, now we have to, like, things are on fire. Like, I really don't get it.
The other one I wanted to mention was like Until Dawn, which I like, and I had a lot of fun at the end when it was like really campy, but like before like the reveal and stuff, I was on edge, and that was frustrating in a way.
So it was frustrating because you were scared.
Yeah.
See, I was never scared.
I was too anxious, and I couldn't stand it.
I know, I remember after the first recording of Until Dawn, Mal was like, I can't do this. And like, it's not a big deal, it's easy. It's just a funny, fun game.
And like, once the reveal happened, that was better.
Okay.
Because then I knew what I was looking for.
You got a little easier.
Yeah.
Next question is from Alex316 the 17th. XVII. With almost all of your 20s on video, how do you feel about that decade of your life? Do you have any advice for someone who will be 20 soon? And what do you want out of your 30s? So this is a really interesting question because I've never really thought about it this way. My 20s are on video, and that's kind of strange. Like, you know, we grew up in an era, like this last decade was an era where people had access to smartphones and maybe took pictures so they can go through Facebook and look at some of their memories. Most people don't have a daily video log of everything they did for the last 10 years. That's kind of weird. So like, how do I feel about that decade? Like, I don't know. it's become so normal, that entire process of just, something interesting happens or something I feel like I want to say or share.
What about like your life and like where you
just,
are? What
yeah.
you're doing and.
So this last decade of my life, I mean, I feel for the most part just extremely happy and fulfilled. Stressed, definitely. I think, like, hands down, I have experienced more stress in my 20s than most people experience probably in like their 20s and 30s combined. Like there's a lot of pressure that ultimately I'm the one that makes the pressure. It's a weird circumstance because like I don't have a boss over me except myself. But I think that's my biggest takeaway out of the last decade is like I've thoroughly enjoyed what I've done. I'm happy with where I am, and like there's creators and YouTubers or whatever that have come along and in a shorter amount of time gotten a lot bigger, but that's never been a big deal to me. I've really enjoyed just kind of doing my thing and feeling grateful and humbled by the fact that I get enough support to continue doing my thing. But then also like thinking about the stress. I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way. That's why in the last few years I've tried to
work on that.
And actually, the whether I went out of my 30s, I want to refine. That's my big thing. Is I want to refine, and I'm doing that. I've noticed that more this year than I think any year ever. Where I'm starting to become more focused on like different things I didn't care about so much in the past. Where it used to be more about the content we were making, and now it's still that, but it's like how are we making it? So that's, with a lot of my interest in, cinematography and the production side of things. Whereas, like in college, that was not my focus. I was focused on...
You were like, let's film in this poorly lit dorm room. Now you're like, we need lights.
Yeah.
We need a good mic and...
I still want to produce the same quality content, because I feel like we've always had, good quality content. Yeah. But now it's like, how are we producing that content? And, that's why I've become, so interested in, new cameras.
4K camera, yeah.
Yeah, like new cameras, and even now, like the vlogging camera that we use, I want something else.
You want something better.
And the thing that I want doesn't even exist. So like I have all these little check marks and stuff that I'm waiting for. So my 20s was a chance to just, I feel, again, super grateful and humbled by the fact that I was given the gift to do what it is I love. But the next decade of my life will be refining what I love and taking everything that I've done over this past 10 years and learned and refining it into something even better. And that's my personal hope. And then the other question was, do you have any advice for someone who will be 20 soon? Don't sweat it.
Yeah.
Is probably my biggest thing. There's a lot, I mean, it depends how you grow up and who your family is, etc. But you might be in a family where you have a lot of pressure, about like, what are you going to do with your life?
Especially in your early 20s, like,
are you going to succeed?
That.
Well, I mean, it's even earlier, like 17, 18-year-old, you pick what college you're going to go to.
Pick your major.
And it's like, Jesus, you're a kid. You don't know those things. I mean, some people, yes, hallelujah, they are super focused. They come out of high school and they just know what they want to do. And they do that for 50 years. Most people aren't that way. And if you're at the end of your teens, you're getting ready to be 20 years old, I'd think don't sweat it. Like, work hard. Always work hard. But work hard in whatever you're doing and don't sweat, like, the bigger picture. You are still young. And it's a changing world. I mean, the things that are, important now frequently aren't that important in 5 years. So I would just, I'd keep that in mind. Try to keep everything in focus. But also work hard.
Yeah.
I like work.
Learn to cook good food and take care of yourself.
Make friends.
Yeah.
Make friends that, honestly, I think that's probably been one of my biggest things of the past decade is I have the best friends. Period. Like, I have amazing friends, amazing relationships that I've formed, and people who genuinely love and care about me and who I genuinely love and care about, and then also who have just this wild variety of like skills and support systems, and it's just amazing what you can do when you have friends who actually care about you, who you can do fun things with, but then also just like know things. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I could talk about this question for a long time, but hopefully that answers it. Restful Silence asks, do you ever regret that your life is so public?
Regret, no. There's times when it's a little frustrating about certain things. I'm
gonna say no. There's never been a time ever that I've been like, why did I do this?
Yeah, there's never been a time for that.
There's never been a time that there's never been a time where I regretted making the vlog and giving the information I've given on the vlog. There's never really been a time for that. And I think it's just because I've always been pretty selective about what I put out there in the first place. And don't get me wrong, I put a lot out there. I mean, I'm a pretty open book about talking about things. But there are certain things I don't talk about. And I've seen it in other creators. I've seen it in friends, friend creators, where they may do or say something, and then, like, it's a tweet that they delete, or a video that they remove, or something where they've said something. They became maybe very passionate briefly about something, and they said something, and then they regret putting that out there. I've done a really good job of just filtering that. Like, I run everything through my own filter of like, is this something I want to share? Is this something I want to talk about? And I think because of that, I've never really had a circumstance like that. I've never had something where it's like, oh my God, that video I released 6 months ago, I really, did something I shouldn't have done, or I said something I shouldn't have said. For the most part, things have been, at least as far as I can remember. My memory's not great. As far as I can remember, things have been pretty good. But I don't really regret anything. There are times, right, that like it's not ideal. Yeah. Like, for example, about once a month, I'd say probably about once a month, we meet a viewer somewhere. Mm-hmm. I'd say about once a month. It's usually, in town, but it could also be when we're out somewhere. We've met viewers in wild places. I remember
wild places.
Really wild places.
Ridiculous, like, whoa.
What are the odds of this? Because we met someone while at one of the tiny islands in Greece. Yeah. We met someone at a game store in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. We met someone
At the Haneda airport in Tokyo when we had just arrived, waiting for our luggage.
So, like, when you least expect it. Yeah. And, like, sometimes that can be, like, not the most convenient thing, because, like, we're people, sometimes we have bad days. Like, there might be, a day where you wake up and you're just not feeling great. Mm-hmm. You're not feeling super excited or whatever, and we're going out and we get groceries, or we go out at the mall or whatever, and, someone might see us, and, like, that's one of those situations where I'm like, someone at any time in your life can approach you and recognize you, and, they know you from content that, at this point expands for like 10 years, and, they want to meet you and say hi, and, as a person who is in that position, there's occasions where I'm just like, I'm not ready for that. If I'm going to like a convention and we're doing a meetup or something, obviously I've prepared myself for that. And then sometimes someone just approaches you and taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, you're Stephen George, and you're not prepared. But I mean, oftentimes, even if I am in a situation where like I haven't been having the best day or whatever, usually those sorts of interactions actually change things for me. Yeah, they do. They really do, because they force you to be like, you know what, this person, their day hasn't been bad or whatever, that hasn't been like mine. They just, in fact, their day has been dramatically improved because they just stumbled across us out in the world, and I don't want to make their experience bad. No. So I immediately flip of like, you know what? All right, let's have an interaction, take a picture, do whatever. And usually I walk away from that and I'm thinking, that actually improved my day. So yeah, there's occasions, I guess, where it's you think about these little things of like, all right.
And sometimes, like, especially if someone lives here in the area, we run into them multiple times.
Yeah.
and like running into them is like, oh yeah, hey you again.
Yeah. I just again, I've never regretted anything. It really has, for the most part, I'd say, been a joy. And a lot of that just comes down to being selective about what I put out there in the first place. And making those decisions early on, trying to be mature about what I talk about, what I don't talk about, and selectively deciding what to share, so I don't have to regret anything later on. Anyway, next question is from MelsTheInkling. MalMakes is nearly 3 years old. Is there still a plan to branch out to other content? And that's because early on we had talked about the possibility of Mal doing cooking or baking or sewing or, other things, because it's MalMakes. It's not Mal Paints. She could do anything. You could do anything.
I know I can, thanks. I mean, there's not like an active plan by like this date I want to do this, but I mean, like Steven said, I would really like to do some baking or cooking or sewing or woodwork or who knows what. And I know we had talked about, there's not really the space for it in the apartment. Well, there's not really space for it here either.
The ideas that we have, don't get me wrong, there's more room here than the apartment, but like the ideas that we have for specific things, it's clear that it would be very hard to do here. Not to mention the production schedule. MalMakes has been an interesting beast because, for the past few years, I have thought like, well, soon things will be under control. And I remember at the very, very beginning when Mal and I were discussing what her initial content would be, and we actually threw out the idea of possibly doing a painting a week. And we even kind of discussed that. And then we said, well, maybe once every 2 weeks to see how it goes. Little did we know that once every 2 weeks was going to be pushing it. Like, Lord have mercy. One painting a week would have never worked. And now, having done a painting every 2 weeks, we realize, after how many years, how difficult it is. It's wildly difficult. And it's bad because Mal now feels that she, owes the internet, right? Like 2 paintings a month. And to some extent you do. Yeah. Because that's your thing. But it also makes additional content, like, very difficult to create, especially whenever I need her. Yeah.
And part of that is my own fault because, I've gotten better as a painter. I know that. I've gotten faster about things, but also I've become more of a perfectionist because I know I can do it better. Yeah. So sometimes things take longer then, and I'm like, oh, I care too much about how this looks.
Yeah, I would like to see Mal pursue some other stuff. I don't know when that'll happen. It might be next year. It might be when we move to a different place. Yeah. I don't know. For the foreseeable future, Mal may continue to, focus strictly on painting. But I will say that I do not think that will be the plan forever. I think that eventually there will be mixed content. There will be painting and like cooking or something.
Cross-stitching.
Something different.
That would be cool. I love cross-stitch.
The other thing to consider, and this is something that folks have to, think about, is that like what Mal is doing is still like, it's a job. It's a thing that creates income for us. Yeah. So with MalMakes, when she is done with a piece, that piece can be sold. That piece can produce merchandise. And like, these are all factors that contribute to Mal's overall income. If Mal does a really cool video where she bakes a pie, that's awesome, but she can't sell that pie. And even if you could, I don't think it's gonna sell for the amount that the paintings tend to go for.
So it's like, I could mail a pie.
That's also difficult. Yeah. So like, obviously, like, Mal relies on Patreon, and without Patreon, MalMakes would be in not good shape. But it's difficult to weigh that stuff, and that's things that we think about. Like, if Mal is not doing a painting, and she is doing, pursuing this other content, that content is going to do, financially wildly less than doing an art piece. So that's why it's we think about things like, doing the art pieces and balancing in additional content, and it's hard. It's hard. This life, not easy. The life of creators and thinking about all of these little, details and stuff like that. So I want to see Mal continue to paint, and I know that at some point she will be doing something else in addition to it. I'd also like to see you pursue some painting stuff that was more, not avant-garde, but just like your thing.
Yeah.
Because I know that right now you are doing, video game landscapes, but like you have an interest in painting things that you want to paint.
Yeah.
And it's hard because that's a scary step to take. If you start doing that, is the audience there because they are super interested in you as a painter, or are they interested in video game landscapes? And if you move over, and try to do something different, do they shift with you? So it's a balancing act. It's
very
really, there's so much to think about. And we're thinking about all of it all the time. But at some point you'll make that pop.
You covered all of that really well.
Did I?
Yes,
okay. Well, it's because I have experience, because we've talked about this.
It wasn't words I could have voiced, but you voiced them very good.
Well, I appreciate that. And I don't mean to speak for you.
No, but
it's just conversations.
I would have been
Well,
so you did a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's just conversations we've had before, usually like late night in bed right before we go to sleep.
Also going for walks. We have good conversation when we go for walks.
Yeah. We only talk about work when we walk.
I know, but it's so
But maybe it's because it's like pent up in our brains, and when we walk, it just comes out, and we're like, we spitball a lot of ideas. Better. Anyway, all right, next question. It's from Ivan Freck. What are you looking for in your next place? So, I will tell you, because Mal's going to answer most of this question. So I'll just start. We do want to find a new place. We have wanted to find a new place even since before we got in here. Anyone's been watching for a while knows that we were renting. When we got married, we moved to Columbia for a year. We lived in an apartment for 4 years here, and then we started the process of trying to maybe buy a house. And banks were like, "What? You work for yourself? What?"
Pre-2008, this wouldn't have been a problem.
Well, anyway, so we had to start structuring things. It's one of the reasons we started a company. It's because that is dumb, but that means a lot to the banks. So we've started the process for doing that. In the meantime, we've rented a house, and this is much bigger than the apartment. But, we've already outgrown it.
Yeah.
We've already outgrown it. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that our needs have changed, and like our the size of what our operation is actively changing, and we're starting to look ahead of like what is on the horizon as far as like doing things for Twitch, and we know that that's going to be a bigger thing. The
layouts of how we'd want a room to be, like this room.
This is where you get to talk.
Yeah. I look a lot at floor plans. I love floor plans.
All I know is that I'm like, I'm gonna need like more room. I need more room for the video games.
Like, it would be nice if this room were more of a rectangle over a square.
Yeah.
I think. I have like dreams that I would like, in my dream house, I want a greenhouse. Like, I would love a greenhouse. That'd be so cool. But like, that's not gonna happen. No one around here has a greenhouse. But like someday I could add it onto the side of a house. I think about that.
Yeah, I mean, like if I wake up tomorrow and like we're suddenly ahead of PewDiePie in subscribers and we've made like $1 jillion, then I might be like, I guess we'll build a greenhouse.
Yeah.
But I don't
like I have dream wishes
that.
on a house, but that's not logical where we are right now.
Yeah.
So like I would like a space where I could have like room to make other art, bigger art that's not like a production space. It's a studio.
Yeah.
Like I do all of my Patreon prints here at home. I would like a space for that because right now it's behind Steven's chair at his desk, and I have a drying rack for prints, and it's in the way.
If I had a nickel for every time I've tripped over this drying rack, I'd have a big old jar of coins. Painful coins. Yeah, I mean, and I've talked about this, especially when we first moved in here. One of the advantages of being in a house, in a bigger place, and renting, is that you start to see little things that like you like or bugs the crap out of you that you're like, no matter what, when we get a place of our own.
Don't put the fridge that close to the island in the kitchen.
You can't even open the door.
Doesn't open all the way.
You can't even open the door to a refrigerator. It opens up like halfway. What a stupid design.
And then no one can walk through.
Oh my god, it's and the cats are always so confused.
And they push the fridge door shut so they can get through.
Anyway, so like there's all these little things that you notice. So and that's useful information that when we finally get a place that we'll be able to say, well, you know, the refrigerator can't go there because we won't be able to open the stupid door. So there's a lot of little things like that.
Yeah, and like this is like the owner suite of the house where this room is.
The master bedroom.
Yeah, with the ensuite bathroom. And then we've put our bed and, you know, dressers and stuff in a different room. And like, we'd like to have a bigger bed because you're so tall that like a queen doesn't, your feet hang off of our bed and we have a queen.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be nice to have
I'm a long boy.
A bigger bed so Stephen, his feet didn't like lose circulation hanging off the side of the mattress.
Yeah, I get.
But it can't fit in there. And this is where all this stuff is, so...
Yeah, there's a lot of things to think about, and one of the conversations that we've had a lot recently, especially finishing GameCube and considering new collections, we have a lot of video games, and like that has been a huge part of our lives. It will continue to be a huge part of our lives. It will honestly become a bigger part of our lives, because as we move into doing gaming streams on Twitch, the video game collection is going to be a big part of that. Anyone that's watched Proton John's stuff, we're probably going to be doing things that are pretty similar to him. I've actually talked to him at length about all of this. So, like, we're probably going to be doing stuff like that. We need space for the games. That's not, you know, that sort of thing isn't changing. You know, we need more room to expand production of the stuff that we, you know, want to continue to make. Which is honestly really exciting because everything in our lives, including our lives themselves, encompass production. Everything. You know, whether we're filming, you know, something that we're actively doing because it's part of the vlog, or we're playing video games and we're filming that. Like, everything leads back to the channels in some way. And,
like, we talked to how nice it would be if we had, like, a breakfast nook that was set up for breakfast stream. So
that would be great.
A table and...
That would be great. Like if there was a space where breakfast stream was just always ready to go. And then you could even take that and expand that to be other things. I've talked about for a long time how in our next place, I want to have a room that has an overhead rig for shooting boards, for shooting board games and card games and D&D and things like that, because I have these big, you know, these big ideas, these big plans, and I want to see them realized. And, you know, it might take a while before we can get into a place. We're still working on that, but, you know, at some point, that's what I'm hoping to do. Everything comes back to the production. I just want to make good content, especially now in the second decade, in my 30s. I'm refining, I'm focusing. I'm like, I know what I want to do now. I just want to do it all better.
And it'd be nice to have like a real guest room with a real bed for friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we need a room to do this and a room to do this. And then our friends were like, can we come visit? I'm like, you have to be on the floor. We don't have a guest room. Next question is from Cosmic Surf. If you were both full-time YouTubers, but not in your current positions, what would you pursue? In other words, we're both still doing YouTube full-time, but I'm not doing vlogs and LPs. You're not doing art. What is it, if the interest was there, that you could pursue something, what would you pursue?
Art. Different art.
You'd still do art?
Baking.
So we're already doing
Okay, so I really love Kitten Lady.
Oh boy.
And she rescues kittens, like, what's the word I want? Orphan kittens? Like fosters the orphan kittens, like day-old bottle babies. That would be so cool.
I told Mal that she can't do it ever. I said, you know what would happen.
Yeah.
You get you'd get 6 kittens in here and say, I'm gonna take care of them, and they'd get old, and it'd be time to get rid of them, and you'd say, no,
these are ours.
These are ours, and we'd go from having 2 to 8 cats overnight. I know Mallory very well, and for as much as she thinks she could allow a cat that was in her life for a while to be out of her life, I don't think she can do it. Not to mention, like, the strain it would put on these cats. Like,
I know.
They would not.
That's the hard thing, I think.
I don't think they would adjust.
That's my biggest hurdle, is these guys.
They would have anxiety. And it would be bad for them, I think.
They already have trouble with the cats that walk through our backyard.
Yeah, they lose their minds. Anyway, so you would probably just do...
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of already... It's kind of already what I dream MalMakes to be someday. Like, oh, this is dinner. This is how I take care of tomatoes.
Just a weird, eclectic collection of Mal things.
Yeah.
You basically want to do StephenVlog, but with very specific things. Yeah.
And I don't want it to be really production heavy, like a cooking show. I want it to be real...
Laid back. It's
live stream me cooking dinner.
You're literally, like, you want to be here, and your channel is literally over here, because your videos are like 40-hour productions.
I know. Dinner
you
doesn't take 40 hours,
to get back over here. Mine, if I could do anything and I knew that I could have the support to keep it up, I would love to do mini docs. I think, like, I have a huge interest. I've talked about it before on Q&A too, about having about doing docs and also like music videos. But I would really love to do mini docs, to interview people about just different things. I like the idea of just interviewing people about their lives, just doing little short form videos that talk about something in their life that they do, or something they've overcome, these sorts of things, with, like, you know, B-roll and like some photos and things like that.
Good cinematography.
Yeah, I mean, like, that sort of thing. I've always thought that would be really fun to do, and it's something I would like to do. I also really have an interest in gonzo journalism, where I'm included in the process. If anyone's ever watched content by Louis Theroux, it's really great. I highly recommend watching through the entirety of Weird Weekends. It's a great show. But I've always had an interest in that as well. So, yeah, I actually almost got the chance to do that last year, and then things fell through. We were going to do... You don't remember, do you?
No.
I can't talk about it because it might still happen at some point, but I was going to work with...
oh, that thing. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to work with some folks to do kind of like a little mini documentary. I'll be specific enough where people might figure it out themselves, but I won't reveal anything. I was going to work with some folks to do a little mini documentary about someone doing some gaming competitions, and I thought it'd be really fun to do, but it didn't. Our schedules and stuff just didn't work out. But it might happen in the future, and I would love the opportunity to do that sort of thing. And I would like to do that. Like, would I like to do that more than what I'm doing now? Probably not. It's just something I would like to also do. Yeah. But the amount of time that it takes to do that sort of thing is crazy. Yeah,
and the people who do that sort of thing have a crew.
Yeah.
They have a sound guy and an editor. And
the people that do that have, like, the network backing.
Yeah, like Luke Theroux's with BBC.
Yeah, so, that's how you have the ability to do that. If you're just even if you're starting, like, I have a place of some position, you know, on YouTube, but even starting where I'm at, trying to do, like, oh, you know what, now we're going to do these cool little pieces on people, and they're going to come out like 3 times a month. Like, that's not enough content. Like, we would die. It just, you know, it wouldn't work. And you have to even consider, like, even with the support of Patreon, like, the current patrons you have are, like, yeah, they support you, but they also support you because you're doing, like, this particular content. You know, if you start doing this other content, they might support you, but they also might be like, you know, I really, you know, I was supporting this. You know, I wasn't necessarily supporting this. So, at some point, will I get around to doing something like that? I don't know. Maybe. I would... The one with the gaming competition, I hope at least happens at some point.
And it's still kind of relevant, though.
Yeah. So it might. God, Sagan's been on my lap since the start, and he's just a little fireball.
He's warm.
All right, next question. JL asks, and this is relevant because Smash Brothers is very, very soon. What was your reaction to finding out Ness and later Lucas were part of the Smash Brothers series? Did you have any reactions to that?
I wasn't waiting on pins and needles for the original Smash to come out because I didn't play it. And
Did you even know anything really about it?
No.
Okay.
My first experience with it was the boy who lived in the apartment below my dad had it.
And this is 99.
Yeah. So I remember one time, like, my dad was gone for work or something, and we had gone down there because his mom was home and just kind of to have adult supervision, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like a babysitter. And the boy played Smash, and I watched, and that was it.
And you obviously didn't even know anything about Ness, probably, at that point.
No,
so.
And I remember they pretty much only played on, what's the name of the stage? Star Fox, Corneria.
Corneria. Everyone loves Corneria.
Yeah, that was pretty much the only stage it ever was, and I don't even remember the name at the time. I didn't know that's what that was until I started playing in high school with Stephanie.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, that's this game.
And in high school you played Melee.
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't really have an experience with...
Not for Ness.
I think I have told this story before, but I'm not entirely sure. If I haven't, you're in for a treat. When I played the original Smash Brothers, I was super excited for its release. I'd been reading about it in Nintendo Power, and the day it came out, I went and bought it. I remember very vividly, I called Kmart, asked if they had Smash Brothers. They said no. I didn't believe them, so I went down, and they had it, and I bought it. Don't know why it was Kmart. At that particular time in Myrtle Beach, that was just where you go, Kmart. So I went and bought it, and I played it, all the time, just absolutely loved it. And for those who are not aware, how you unlock Ness in that game is very specific. Like, stupid specific. As far as I remember, you have to play on normal with 3 lives through the adventure mode or whatever. So, like, you can up your lives to, like, 5 or something like that.
Yeah, make it easier.
And when I was a kid, that's what I always just played with 5 lives.
Because you didn't see any downsides.
Yeah.
Or,
like,
why would I play with less?
Yeah. Something, whatever it was. And I might have played on easier mode or something, too, just because then you wreck the snot out of everybody. Anyway, for whatever reason, I'd unlocked all the characters except one. So I unlocked Jigglypuff and Falcon and Luigi. And the last character I was missing, I didn't know who it was. Did it tell you were missing one? Yeah, it shows you on the thing that there's a block missing. So you know you're missing a character. I didn't know who it was. As far as I remember, at that point, I don't think I had the internet. Yeah, I wouldn't have the internet for a while.
No.
Like, I had the library I could go to, but I didn't do that for Smash Brothers. So I legitimately did not know Ness was in the game. And there was one Saturday morning that, I don't know, but for whatever reason, I put the lives to 3.
Decided to challenge yourself.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. And I played through, and at the end it was like Challenger approaching, and I was like, oh man, oh my god, this is... And it comes up and it's Ness, and I lost my mind. I completely lost it, because I had no idea Ness was in the game, and that Earthbound was my favorite game. And at that point, Earthbound was only 4 years old, like it had, which is wild now, because it's a jillion years old, but at the time, Earthbound had only been out for, 4 years. It was my favorite game ever since I had first played it when it came out, and I was so excited. This was a character from my favorite game ever. I was just like, oh my god, I lost that match. But I freaked out so hard, and I remember I lost the match, but I was like in tears. I was so excited, and it was Saturday morning, and I ran out, and Mom was in the kitchen, and I was trying to explain to her, like, Mom, you don't understand, like, this is from Earthbound, and he's in Smash Brothers, and I get this, and she's like, oh, I don't understand, but I'm glad you're so cute. Glad you're happy. And I ran back into the room and wiped away my tears and played through the mode again. And this time I beat Ness and I unlocked him, and it was that was my entire world, man. I think, honestly, I don't always remember that story, but that story is probably subconsciously why the Smash Brothers series is so important to me, is that I have that, like, really strong connection to that very specific Saturday morning. And I already loved the game. I thought it was super fun. My friends would come over in the neighborhood. William, who's on the vlog every once in a while, like, we would, get together and play it. It was just a wonderful game. But then to find out the Ness is in it is earth-shattering.
Was there stages in 64 for Earthbound? No? Okay.
Nope. No, On It and Foreside were added in Melee.
Okay.
So there was like...
I couldn't remember because I haven't played a ton of 64.
Yeah, and I like Mr. Saturn I don't think is in it either. Like, I think that's just Melee.
Just Ness.
So I think that there's literally no representation from the Mother series other than that.
I know Melee really well.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And it's been so long
64.
now. And also the interesting thing is that the Smash Brothers games are about 5 years apart. Mm-hmm. The first one to Melee is 2. Mm-hmm. 99 to 2001. So it wasn't out that long, but I played a crap load of it. Anyway, quick little anecdote about Lucas. Lucas was also really exciting. Lucas debuted in Brawl, mm-hmm. and they actually wanted Lucas to be in Melee, but Mother 3 ended up not coming out by 2001, so it was still Ness. But Lucas was in Brawl, and at the time that Brawl was coming out, they were doing a website where they released like bits and pieces every day.
Yeah. And it was either like the music or a stage or a character.
Smash Dojo.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was a part of the staff of Starman.net, which is the big Earthbound fan site, the one that Mal and I met on. And we had someone leaking information about the game early to the staff. Mm-hmm. So we would hear about things that were happening that were going to happen on the Smash Dojo, and like the first few they proved themselves.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
this one's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They'd say on the Smash Dojo, in 2 or 3 days, like, this is what's going to happen, and then it would happen. Like, tomorrow you're going to see this, and then it would happen. And I just remember being like, man, that's really cool. It's nice that this person really, likes and appreciates it. And then they had told us, they said, Lucas is going to be announced as a fighter. And the staff knew that we had to believe them, right? Because, like, we had no reason to doubt them at this point.
Yeah.
But I remember internally the staff, like, freaking out about that. Like, oh my god.
You and I weren't dating then. We were talking, so you didn't
Yeah.
tell me anything, and I wasn't on staff.
Yeah.
So I was surprised.
Yeah, and there was a guy in my college English class. I only had to take one college English class. So this was the first semester of college, I think, that Brawl came out. It seems right. Probably.
It was spring.
Was it spring?
It was
okay,
spring.
so it was the second semester. And I had that college
because
English...
Stephanie and I took a bus to go pick it up from GameStop, and you and I were talking on the phone then.
Well, there was a guy in my college English class who was also really excited about Brawl. And after I learned that this information had been coming out, I had been talking to this guy about the stuff, and I was his guy then, because I was like, tomorrow they're going to be doing this. And he was like, what? So then obviously after I'm correct for a few times, then
he's like, what's coming out next?
Yeah. But I remember he actually knew about the Mother series and knew about Mother 3 already. So whenever I told him that Lucas was coming out, we were both like really excited together. Now I don't know who that guy is. I couldn't tell you his name if I had it in front of me. But so yeah, that's my stories. It's one of the reasons that Smash is so special. I think is because I've just had all of these really positive experiences regarding it. But I can't wait to play Smash Ultimate. I really can. It's gonna be exciting. Anyway, I don't know how to pronounce this name, and I know that I don't know.
Yeah.
It's Ianth or Ianth Silverfire. I'm sorry. It's like an old world name, like Greek or something, and I'm bad at pronounce because every time I see it, I want to say Ian the. It's not. It's like Ianth or
Ianth
or Ianth or Ianthi or something. I just know that I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm going to just say Silverfire. Asks Mao, who is your favorite Sailor Scout? Also, Luna or Artemis?
Can you answer this for me?
Mao's favorite Sailor Scout is Venus.
Good job.
That's right. And you like Artemis?
Yeah.
because Artemis is black and
No,
Luna is
Luna's
what?
black.
Oh wait, but Luna's. Oh.
Artemis is Venus's cat.
Oh, are they both black?
No, Artemis is white.
Okay, I meant to guess the black one.
Which was hard for me because I had a black cat, and Mel was my black cat, and he was a boy. And so I was always really torn about that as a kid. Like, I had this dilemma as a child. Like, but Artemis is a boy cat like my cat, but Luna is black like my cat.
Why can't I love both?
I like Sailor Venus, and Artemis is... So that's kind of why I picked Artemis.
I can't answer this question because I don't know anything about the show.
Like, we always had to have, like, a character.
Yeah.
For some reason. And so Carly picked Serena, well, Usagi, because we were watching English.
Yeah.
So it was Serena and Luna, and that was like her thing. So I was like, well...
She's a little sister, but she made that decision.
She found the show first, so she got first dibs.
Okay. I think we've talked a little bit about this before in the past. Yeah, I have seen episodes of Sailor Moon because it came on like before or after Dragon Ball Z. I think before. So I'd get home from school and Dragon Ball Z wouldn't be on quite yet, so I'd watch Sailor Moon, and I didn't hate it. It was just like not my thing.
No.
What was my thing was nerd for, seasons. Next question is from Everchanger. What's up with Steven's weird tooth? And I should mention that I have on every question, I always like rewrite these questions for brevity. Yeah. Everchanger was very like polite about asking this question. I just changed it to be like, what's up with Steven's weird tooth? Because that's the meat of the question. So if you haven't noticed, I have a strange tooth.
A strange tooth.
And if you look here, if I turn my head back, you'll see that the cross section of the tooth, which should be straight, also has like this going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan, can you zoom into this?
Oh no.
Anyway, that is it is a weird tooth indeed. And it has a name. Do you know the name?
It's a talon cusp.
Talon cusp.
Like an eagle talon. Talon.
Yeah, and when I first got that tooth,
was your baby tooth that way? Mm-mm. Okay, because normally they're not that way. It's normally the adult teeth.
Yeah.
If you have one.
So I've had it for so long that I don't even think anything of it. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, everyone's got like a molar in the front of their mouth, right? I'm pretty sure.
It's not a molar.
It's not a molar, but it behaves in a similar way, kind of to a molar. But it does have nerve endings in the other side. It's kind of like two teeth in one, in a way. And the only reason I know is because...
you only knew it was strange was because... Is that right? What you're trying to say?
No, I knew it was strange because the other side doesn't have that.
Okay.
It's kind of weird when one side has it and the other side doesn't. The only reason I knew it had nerve endings is because there was one day, I think I was at the orthodontist, because I had braces for like a jillion years, and then I got older and everything like undone.
Then you went through a growth spurt, and then it just...
And the orthodontist was like, tap out. Sorry. Whenever I was at the orthodontist, I think they were the ones that said, we can like shave that down for you or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I guess. I mean, it's not doing me any good, but if you want. And they got their little saw blade out and they started on it, and I just about came unglued from that chair. That
hurts.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, and they're like, oh God, it's like alive. Like, what have you created?
Well, sometimes it's just like a bony growth that has no nerves.
Sometimes, but in my case, it is actually like part of the tooth, apparently. So it has like nerve endings and stuff in it. But yeah, it's just had it forever. And when we moved to Columbia for a year, I went to the dentist there. And
you had gone to the dentist here, the same dentist
forever. Mm-hmm. So it was like not a big deal to them. Mm-hmm. When we moved to Columbia, I went to the dentist one time, and when I went to the dentist, the lady that looked at my tooth,
the hygienist?
Yeah, the hygienist was like, "Oh my God, you have a whatever." She didn't used to. It was like the
official name.
The doctor word, and I was like, "I guess." And she's like, oh man, hold on a sec. So then she's like going and telling everyone else in the office, and then like within a few minutes I have everyone in the office like looking, and they're like, wow, we've never gotten a chance to see one of these. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know,
The
is this going to remove...
for Talon cusp?
Will this make my bill cheaper?
The Wikipedia page for Talon cusp says 1 to 6% of the population has it.
That's more common than I would assume.
I don't know. There were
the
pictures
ladies,
of like someone who has it on every
If
tooth.
the hygienists at the doctor's office were like, we've never seen this before. I'm thinking, well, have you had more than 13 patients? You know, or whatever, 50 patients? You probably should have by now, I would assume. But yeah, anyway, that's what that is. I just, I live with it. It causes me no pain. It's just a weird shaped tooth. The other tooth is normal and flat. And this one is, not. And I think actually, probably back in the day before we were doing like 4K video and like better cameras, it was probably harder to tell. And now that we've done, we're increasing production and stuff, like you can tell more easily, which is why people have these questions like, what is that? Well, now you know. You've been informed. And our final question is coming from Neo Darkrai TV. Which of your parents are you more similar to in terms of personality, quirks, etc.? What parent are you most similar to, Mallory? Or can I answer for you?
I mean, I think most people could guess just visually. Because there were a lot of comments the day before Thanksgiving about that.
Yeah, Mal bears a lot of physical resemblance, but then also, personality resemblance to her father.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a lot of physical, I think, resemblance. At least I've heard that all my life to my mother. We have a lot of similar bone structure. I don't know. What's some ways in which you and your dad are similar personality-wise?
Oh, I was just gonna say before you talked about that. Growing up, everyone always said, you look like your dad. Carly looks like your mom.
Yeah.
And when I was young, I didn't understand that. I was like, but Carly and I look a lot alike. And I was like, but how can I look like my dad and she look like my mom if we look alike? And I never saw that until I got to be more of the age I am now.
And now
but now I can
it.
definitely see it.
Yeah.
Like the picture that we took at Mama Jean's, like I look a lot like my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Now I get it.
Yeah, and I look like a lot like my grandma did at this age. Because I've seen pictures of her. I sent one to your mom. And
she thought it was you?
She thought it was me and it was my grandma, my dad's mom. But personality-wise, sometimes I can see it, or just hearing my dad talk a little bit about like public speaking and like anxiety with that. And we were both like scared of heights. A lot of my humor is the same humor as his is sometimes.
It's fair, yeah.
We like a lot of the same things, like food and...
I like food too.
Like certain food. Like specific sandwiches. Like he always got a roast beef sub at Cousins, and like that's what I get.
And I mean, I'm sure whether or not you know that, some of that is subconsciously from him.
Yeah.
Like you spent time with him as a kid, he ordered that, you wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
You ordered the thing, and now you like it and you don't remember that that's the original reason.
Yeah, but I do like it.
Yeah. I have a lot of, personality traits that I do share with my mom. Obviously, I look similar, at least somewhat. And I do have personality traits that I share with her. I would say, my mom is very, very focused, and I probably get a lot of that focus from her. I don't know if it's always a good thing. I think it's sometimes like to my detriment. Like I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do it forever. So like it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's also, it can be a very bad thing. My mom is very, very kind. Very empathetic. I can only hope that I can be, half as, kind and empathetic as she is. She is truly a sweet and wonderful person. But also, I get a lot of traits from my dad. Like, don't get me wrong, I get a lot of stuff from my mom, but there's stuff that's very clearly from my dad, like without the shadow of a doubt. For one, my mom is like relatively calm, but she can be very high strung. She's probably watching this. Hi, Mom. But my dad has an extreme calmness. My dad is
does.
like seriously one of the most chill people I've ever met, and I get that from him easy. I have the amazing ability to stay super calm and collected under even the most ridiculously, crazy circumstances. And it's definitely clear I get that from Dad.
Yeah.
Like, Mal is like actively, like, the car is going to explode.
We were driving and my tire blew, and I'm driving and it's a stick shift, so Steven can't drive. And I'm freaking out because the tire had exploded, and we're going like
75 or something.
75 north of the city of Chicago, somewhere on the state
slowly
line.
losing control of the car. I mean,
yeah.
I say slowly, but it's all happening very fast. And I'm in the passenger seat, and I'm like, just gently apply the brakes. And Mal's screaming, and I'm like, just, move over to the side. And I was like, we're gonna die. So, I don't have that. Like, and I get that from Dad. Like, full stop. There's, like, that's definitely from him, where he can, no matter what's happening, he can just stay, like, real calm. The other thing I get from him is, I think I get a lot of my charisma from my dad, because my dad can tell a story like you wouldn't believe. Like, that my dad can take any thread of a story and weave it into a complete story that you are on the edge of your seat to hear from start to finish. And I grew up just like experiencing that, because my parents would have family friends over, whatever. I would be in the living room playing, video games or with toys or whatever, but I always got to experience that secondhand of like my dad pulling in everyone to tell, some sort of tale. So he would, start the story, and everyone was always just like listening in to see, how it was going to end or whatever. And he's always just had that, really amazing ability. So I get that from him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good storyteller, and anytime, I have to record anything or, do a Let's Play or anything, I'm probably very subconsciously pulling from a lot of that learned behavior, from him. And, he, due to different things, medical issues, etc., sometimes his storytelling these days is not always, as strong, but occasionally it comes through, and like, it's incredible, especially, like, if we have people around or whatever, like Dan and Lindsay been over, and he'll tell a story and just like knocks it out of the park, and I'm like, that's my dad. That's my dad. It's really incredible.
And sometimes he likes to tell tall tales.
Yeah. Sometimes I think they're so tall, I'm like, Dad, that doesn't even seem feasible.
But he'll make you think it's feasible.
Yeah. I mean, by the end, I'm like, I believe you.
Maybe it happens.
I believe you. That's amazing. So, how long was the alligator? 25 feet? I believe you. But he's always been a good storyteller. So yeah, that's some of the, some of the quirks and personality traits we get from our family. There's probably more. Yeah. I'm not thinking of. The comments will probably chime in too. Anyway, thank you for sticking with us. This is a bit of a long one, an hour. Shout out to Dan for handling the editing on this one. Appreciate it. And Dan might be in the Stephen and Friends video. It depends when
should be.
He should. I hope he is. It depends when we film it. I don't know why he wouldn't. It depends when we film it. Because I don't know. But do keep in mind that next episode, next Q&A is going to be the Stephen and Friends Q&A. Please ask questions with that in mind, that we are going to be having a lot of people. We can't confirm who will all be there yet, but yeah, and again, like depending on what number of them, depending on what day we do it, different people might be there. But we're gonna try and do it to get as many people that are regulars in the series in as possible. So generic questions are really good that different people can give input on. But if you do have, specific questions, that's fine too. And if they're there, and then they'll answer them. Okay, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I know that this is fall, but yeah, life's crazy. You got a fall-colored shirt on. Yeah, that's what I really meant. That's what I meant. People just misunderstood. Yeah. Probably. See you later this month for another Q&A.